Can you imagine if your best friend bought a brand new sports car, but rather than put fuel in its tank, they instead spent their money on a pair of fuzzy dice to hang from the rearview mirror, or one of those tacky vanity license plates, but then wondered aloud, how come my car doesn't go anywhere? You would think to yourself, what on earth is wrong with you? And that's exactly what I think when I see nascent wrestling promoters spending their time and resources on getting all their social media accounts set up. That's the vanity license plate. Or investing in a championship title belt. That's the pair of fuzzy dice. Instead of the 6 essentials we're going to go over in today's video. These are the things you actually need if you're going to start a wrestling promotion, at least 2 of which I'm betting have never even crossed your mind. So we better get to all of it, and we will right now. Up front, I need you to be honest with people. If you have never promoted professional wrestling before, don't be afraid to disclose that to the people that you are working with. And yes, I mean the people that you're going to hire. That's the wrestlers, the referee, the ring announcer, etc. But not just the talent. The venue owners, your promotional partners, and sponsors, let them know this is your first time. Here's why. They will extend to you a certain amount of grace that, if you falsely purport to have a giant amount of experience, they would never afford you. Let them know this is your first rodeo. Allow them to give you a little bit of that grace. It's going to help when things don't go exactly as planned or when they go totally wrong. By the way, I'm Mike Quackenbush. This is Till We Make It. I've been working in professional wrestling for the last 30 years. Thanks so much for clicking on my video. Today's is the 6 things you need to start a brand new wrestling promotion. Here we go. The first of these 6 essentials is also the most obvious. In fact, I'm betting it's already number 1 on your list. It's the money. Yeah, you need money to start a brand new wrestling promotion. And it would be a cardinal mistake to think that you will generate enough money at the door during your first event through ticket sales, merchandise, and concessions to cover all the expenses. It just doesn't work that way. You need advance funds to cover things like the rental of a venue. If you don't own your own ring, you're going to have to rent one. You may have to pay deposits on the talent that you want to book, etc., etc. Treat this like any other startup business and plan for heavy losses during the first 3 years as you inch your way toward profitability. My golden rule is this: before you announce show number 1, have enough money in the bank to cover shows 1, 2, and 3. Second, you need to be aware of the local scene, including the local wrestling scene, so you don't end up stepping on territorial toes. Even though the territory era of pro wrestling ended back in the early 80s, there are still people and companies out there pretending like it never ended. And you need to know things like when the carnival is coming through town, hoovering up everybody's disposable income. So yes, on the one hand, you have to know things like what wrestling promotions are running in your city or in your region or in your state, and you need to be cognizant of their schedules. You also need to be aware of the world outside of professional wrestling. If you happen to be putting on your very first event opposite the town's annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony, that is absolutely going to hamper your odds of success. I've made almost 700 Till We Make It videos, and if you happen to be learning something from today's video, or you learn something from any of the other 600 or so that I've made, would you please give me one tap of your finger and leave me a like-a-palooza down below? Thanks for the engagement. The third thing you're going to need is a professional network. You need connections, and developing that now is so much easier than it was 20 years ago. If you want to find out where to buy a pro wrestling ring, the answer is one Google search away. If you want to start contacting the wrestlers you imagine you'll book for your first few events, you could make contact via social media with them probably today. But hang on to all of these connections that you are making. They are what makes up your professional network. so that if a month down the line you're struggling to find a ring announcer, your professional network is there to help you source one. If you don't know who to turn to rent a steel cage for that big main event you're building to on show number 3, your professional network can probably help you source one. Even if you are starting a very small wrestling organization, you need a professional network. And remember that personal referrals are king. You're going to count on that to find the very first person who you are going to book. And that person is the locker room leader. It's number 4 on my list, and you might wish that it was you, but it probably isn't. It is most typically a seasoned professional wrestler or someone else with a deep body of work, a referee, a ringside manager, maybe a backstage agent or producer. This role has to be filled by someone who has a body of work everyone else respects. And if this is your first time promoting professional wrestling, you haven't earned anyone's respect yet. Use your professional network to vet a locker room leader and make them the very first person that you book for your event. When someone on your team decides they don't exactly want to be a team player anymore, you'll be glad you have a locker room leader to go ahead and sort that all out for you. 5th, you need a complete production team. So yes, that includes audio-visual stuff, but most importantly, you need a sports photographer and videographers who know how to capture professional wrestling. They've also got to be able to handle post-production to deliver to you a completed, finished product. It's great if your sister-in-law happens to be a wedding photographer, but shooting portraiture is different from shooting sports. And maybe Uncle Zeb volunteers his Android phone, but that's not going to cut it compared to a video team that knows how to shoot professional wrestling. Having great photos and videos elevates the event that you just had and gives you the multimedia you need to sell the next one. 6th, you need a support team that will be at the event with you from start to finish. And I think the perfect size for that team is 4 people. Sometimes they just function as gophers. You know what I mean? They're gonna go for lunch while you supervise the ring being put up. They might go for more duct tape when you run out. But they also have to be capable enough to handle situations like a malfunctioning sound system or be knowledgeable enough to be able to tighten up the ropes when they get loose between the matches. A support team, as well as everything else on today's list, they are essentials to starting a brand new wrestling promotion.